Hi guys. So I keep coming across lately this meme, whatever, info, whatever. Lately I just have real trouble finding the right words for anything. I think that's part of the awakening process as well, is that you realize that language just sucks. But anyway, it's really quite limited, you know. But anyway, it's the term Heyoka Empath. Now, I know that a lot of us are empaths, but there are different types of empaths. My best friend Stephen is an empath in that he has to be extremely careful and discerning as to people and places and whatnot, because he literally feels other people's feelings. Now I do as well. It's really quite difficult to be an empath actually, because you find yourself actually not always knowing what is your feeling and what is somebody else's feeling. And as we know, most people, especially, well, people that aren't awake, but even awakened people, we all have a lot of trauma and a lot of stress and a lot of shit going on. And when you're an empath, you can absorb that. It can also be like a trigger. So somebody else's shit can trigger your own shit. All that stuff goes on. But a Heyoka empath, I think, is somewhat different. I think about, there was a film made in 1970 with Dustin Hoffman, and it was called Little Big Man. I think it was called Little Big Man. And it's Dustin Hoffman plays this guy who goes to live. He ends up living with the Native American people, this tribe, and they have a sort of medicine man, but he's a Heyoka. So everything he does it backwards. He's always walking backwards, for example. In our Western culture, which isn't really culture, but anyway, you know, the kings of old had the Joker. And the Joker was the only person in the whole court that could tell the king to his face that he is a complete idiot and get away with it, because he was thought of as the fool. The fool. Often enough, of course, the fool wasn't a fool at all. In fact, he was the only person with true wisdom. But he embodied the trickster element. And I think what I feel, certainly, I am not overly familiar with the whole Heyoka thing here, but as far as I feel it, is that we are more familiar with the trickster element that is inherent in all of reality, and we are the fools and we are the jokers. We don't feel ourselves to be that way, of course, but we are often seen that way. People interpret us that way. They've certainly interpreted me that way, more than not. And I never used to be cool with that, but I am now. We are profoundly different in that we seem to be wandering around life with this massive invisible hammer that hits all the nails on the head. And we do that often enough, I reckon, without even realizing it. I certainly do that. Throughout my life, it just comes out of me. I can't help it. I will say something and then think, oh, you know, people used to say to me, God, Anika, you've got foot and mouth disease, because I literally used to say things that were completely and utterly true, and that would point directly at the elephant in the living room, but that everybody else was busy avoiding, you know. And I do that now, but now I am aware of doing it. And I think that's an important element of an Heyoka empath, is that we call it what it is. And we often do this in in a very unique sort of way. We can use humor, or we can it just comes out, we can't help it. And the people around us who are busy being in their dissociative state are shocked, offended, or they find it funny and humorous. Yeah, I've got friends who just enjoy my funky way of being and calling it what it is, and they think it's funny and they enjoy it. But some people get very agitated because they're triggered. We are an Heyoka empath triggers people, triggers energy. And I think Heyoka empaths have an innate ability to awaken to the deepest levels, and part of that means also awakening to their own inner shit and really working through that. So my last few videos have been quite intense, I suppose, because that's part of my process. My channel is literally just a vlog, a blog or whatever, about my own personal journey. And I occasionally get comments from people saying, oh, Annika, that was a bit heavy, or that was a bit dark, or, you know, tell a different story, why don't you? Sitting duck, hello. But I'm not going to tell a different story from my own story. Why should I? That's not what my channel is about. My channel is about my own raw, authentic journey. That's what I do. I'm not here to be pretty or to be nice or to pretend it's this, when in fact I know damn well that it's that. I'm not afraid of the darkness inside me or inside the world, because I'm primed to alchemize that. That is what we do. Heyoka empaths, I feel, are alchemists and magicians. We have the invisible hammer that hits all the nails on the head, and it will trigger people. So people that aren't comfortable with facing their own shadow and doing shadow work and working through that, people that want to stay in the distortion field of disassociation, will always be triggered by the Heyoka empath's energy, by the Heyoka empath's words, by the invisible hammer hitting the nails on the head and pointing at the elephant in the living room, by that little boy. Remember that story? The emperor wears no clothes, and all the people were like, oh yes, the emperor, and playing the game, pretending that the emperor was wearing his regal outfit, and the little boy, clearly a Heyoka empath, was there going, but the emperor is wearing no clothes. And I can just imagine all the other people looking at the little boy going, oh, we're so offended, how dare you, and getting really upset and agitated and whatnot. And a few people would have thought, ha, good for you, you know. But that's what we do, people. That's what we do. We see, we know, we feel, and it just comes out. We are simply not able to pretend or to play the game or whatever. It's like everybody runs on the script, the algorithm script, that, oh, this is reality, look at the emperor, look at his lovely clothes, when in fact he's there completely naked. We, the Heyoka people, we see that the emperor is wearing no clothes and we point this out. That's what we do. That's what our journey here is all about. And it's a tough one, because we don't all have very thick skin. We're very, very, very sensitive. And I came across a little video by a guy called Gabor Mate. Now this guy has some really good info to impart. He's not really that awake and aware, which amazes me. People like that really ought to be, but he's not. But it was about authenticity versus attachment. So attachment, when you're a child, when you're a baby, when you're a toddler, when you're a young adult, whatever, you need attachment, you know, because without that you die. I.e. you need love, you need care, you need nourishment, you need safety as a child. So when you're a child and this attachment, I wouldn't really call it attachment actually, I would call it that which you need to survive. I can't really think of a right word for it right now, but your parents' love, your parents' protection, your parents' nourishment, your parents, you know, to know that you belong, that you are accepted, right? If that is withheld because you're told on a continual basis that you're not accepted as you are, that you are not good enough as you are, ergo, you learn that in order for you to belong, in order for you to be accepted, in order for you to be loved, in order for you to be you know, to be safe, you have to be something other than what you actually are. So you learn to, you become a chameleon. You become a chameleon. You learn that you have to be other than what you are. I think this has happened to a lot of people like us. So we become chameleons. We learn to fit in with other people. So whoever you're with on any given day, you almost find yourself becoming that person. Now, part of that is to do with being an empath, but actually it isn't a healthy impulse at all. It's fear that drives that. I've noticed a lot of empathic people do this, and it's not a good thing. I used to do that a lot as well, and I still do to a degree, but I've learned to recognize this as something inherently negative. But it's something that plays out in that sort of area. I've noticed this. And if when you're an Heyoka empath and you have that weird that weird hitting the nails on the head and pointing out that the emperor wears no clothes type shit going on, it makes you feel very vulnerable. It makes you feel like you stick out like a sore thumb. And for people who have a childhood, have had rather a childhood where they were made to feel that you are not okay as you are not acceptable as you are, so in order to get what you need to survive you have to become something else, it becomes even more painful and more difficult to be an Heyoka empath, I feel. This has played out for me a lot in my life, and I've become aware of that. I came across a video today, I will post it in the Dropbox below. It's a relatively new channel, and this lady does a video on Heyoka empaths, and I think it's quite good. I'm not saying that I resonate with everything she says, but a lot of what she says resonates with me because I find it to be true in my life for me. But yeah, we are we are the people that stick out like a sore thumb. Others recognize this. They see us coming from miles away and they know that we are troublemakers, or they see us as troublemakers because they're happy in their comatose state. Well, they think they are. They think that ignorance is bliss. We, on the other hand, know that it's not. Awakening is a really, really painful thing, but it has a lot of advantages. Being fast asleep and comatose just siphons off your energy and, well, it destroys your soul. That's it, in my opinion. So, whilst we, awakening people, are going through a lot of stuff, and we're here doing our shadow work, going through the dark night of the soul, purging out and healing and alchemizing our shadow, we also get the rewards. Now, this last month has been incredibly intense. It has. So my videos reflect that. You know, I mean, I could sit here and think, well, I'm only going to do a video when I feel good. But I don't see the point of that, because that doesn't reflect the truth. The truth, people, is that we have ups and we have downs. We have a lot of downs, but all those downs really just represent this healing process. When all this stuff comes up, when we really see the fake persona in its death throes, when we really feel our shadow just churning within us, when we realize that the thoughts we're having and that the feelings that are coming up and all that fear and all that hate and all that rage and all that chaos, that is mass consciousness. That is the greatest, deepest wound. That is Chiron. Sometimes you're just in it for a bit, but it also always leads to higher ground. Inevitably, it always does. It's layer after layer after layer, I find. You know, it's part of the great work. So we trigger people. We do. There's no doubt about it. We are energy manipulators, and I don't mean manipulators in a bad way. I mean this in a good way. It's creative tweaking of energy. We are energy magicians, energy alchemists of the inner, and through the inner also the outer. And we do hit nails on the head, and it will trigger people, and we will get, when you have a YouTube channel, comments of people that have been triggered, and it will bring up your own shit. It just does, because there is always a kind of correlation between that, you know. So that's okay, and we learn and we grow stronger. We grow thicker skin. I mean, it's interesting. Yeah, we are the fools. We are the jokers. We are the people that walk backwards in order to walk forwards. We say and feel and do and experience all the stuff that everybody else is busy blindsiding, is busy not wanting to look at, not wanting to acknowledge. Because we are not asleep and we're not comatose. We're painfully awake and aware. So that's what we do. And yeah, the going has been tough. It has been, you know, but again, we don't have to believe this shadow, what our shadow believes, what our shadow thinks, what our shadow feels, what our shadow experienced in the past, which is the trauma, which is the PTSD. And the shadow thinks, well, this is the truth, this is how it will always be. Whereas that side says, no, that's not the truth. Watch and learn. Watch that magic and watch how things blossom, how things go from being like that to that. I have seen this over and over again, you know. So when you find that you're out and about and you just automatically, yet intuitively say things, do things, express things, embody things that triggers those around you. You know, you get what I call the NPC stare, or the people you just have an effect on everything around you, on the people, on everything. It's just there. You're like fizzy with it, you know. Then know that this is part of your sacred purpose. You're some sort of Heyoka Empath. You do things differently. You're meant to do things differently. You're meant to see and know and understand that, yeah, this world's completely insane. And the Emperor is wearing absolutely no clothes whatsoever. And we see that, and we know that. And I think we're in the process of becoming more and more comfortable with being that way, because that is our true self. And I think we're in the process of becoming more adept at being alright with that and being comfortable with that. There are parts of us that need to really be healed and reintegrated to make that happen. And I think that's what's happening now. Shadow work is so important, people. I cannot underestimate this. It's so important to acknowledge and recognize our own inner darkness, our own inner insanity and dysfunctionality. It's very, very important. Do not shy away from that, because that's where it's at. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Consciousness is the key to it all. I never ever felt that this would be an easy journey, as in now I'm totally asleep and comatose and believe everything they tell me, to poof, and now I'm awake and everything is great and wonderful and amazing. And I never thought that was going to happen. I always knew that it was going to be a bit of a journey. I knew that even as a child. I've always had a sense of that. You know, like I remember when I was little, I think I was about 6, and they were all sitting around and saying, oh, well, so what are you going to do when you grow up? You know, they do that, don't they? So it's that sort of programming where they do this in school as well. What are you going to be? What are you going to be? What are you going to do when you grow up? As if you know what you're going to want to do or be when you're, you know, when you're 6 years old. I mean, that's mad. But I'd heard the word prostitute and I didn't really know what it meant. But something inside of me just went poof, and I went, oh, I want to be a prostitute. And of course everybody in the room fell silent. You could have heard a pin drop. But that's one of those things. Do you know what I mean? That's what we do. We say just that thing that has everybody in the room go, ugh. Or everything about us is just naturally designed, as it were, to give the world around us a jolt, like poof. That to me, that is the essence of being an Heyoka empath. And it's very hard because empaths by nature are very, very sensitive. Heyokas are people that do exactly that. And so it elicits responses that, due to our very sensitive nature, can be extremely painful to us. So we're in the process of healing our shadow, because it's our shadow that hurts. Our true self doesn't really care. Our true self says, oh yeah, of course you're going to trigger people, of course you're going to get antagonistic reactions. You're triggering people into a deeper awakening if they choose that opportunity. But it's okay, it's neither here nor there, it's not up to you, it's their journey. Let it go, it doesn't matter. Now go and do something that nourishes your soul and let that shit go. It's the shadow within us that fears these reactions. It feels unsafe, it feels threatened, it feels bullied, attacked. But you see, ultimately that's not the truth of it. The truth is that we are here, that we are very real, very raw, very authentic, speaking truth. Just being, really, and we're very loud. We're being very loud. Our energy is very, you know. Hence, when we walk around somewhere, say a busy, crowded shopping centre, not that we go there very often, but sometimes you have to go somewhere like that, and you'll find that you get strong reactions from people, very strong. It's because you're some sort of Heyoka empath, and you have that energy. It's like a lighthouse in the night. It's a bit like that, people. And the more we heal, I think the more we will feel more and more comfortable with just being that way, because it's our purpose. It's part of what we are. I suppose that's all really for today. I'll do some more research in this topic because it resonates with me, and I'm just going to feel that out. I'm going to feel that out and probe that, and yeah, and maybe do some more videos on that in the future. That cat, he's a Heyoka as well. Oh my god, can you hear him? Anyway, so yeah, all my love to all of you, and know that you're different and it's good. Love yourselves in all your nuances, the dark, the light, the up, the down. It's all part of what we are. It's part of our journey. Keep doing that inner work, people, because that's where it's at. It's all about cleansing it out and harmonizing and alchemizing and loving ourselves. If we can learn to really love the parts of ourselves that we've been programmed are not lovable and we must reject, but if we do the opposite of that, you see, everybody's going that direction, we go that direction and learn to really integrate and love ourselves, we are doing the sacred work. And we will become more and more authentic, more and more real. And our energy will become more amplified. And yes, it will trigger people, but we will care less and less, and it won't hurt so much. And we'll start to see it more creatively, with a bit more love, a bit less reactivity, a bit more like, hey, that's all right, that's your problem, or that's your journey, or whatever. It doesn't really matter, It's a journey.